in peacekeeping missions in Africa. Mapisa-Nqakula spoke to the SABC at the conclusion of the Great Lakes Leaders meeting at Speke Resort in Uganda. The meeting looked at peace and security in that region.
We are very happy, very happy, because indeed this meeting in the main was held to do a quick assessment of the challenges in the region of the Great Lakes. As you know, we are signatories to the Peace and Security Framework of the Democratic Republic of Congo. So we were then invited so that when there is discussion on that particular matter, particularly because the DRC is going into an election, so when they were doing a state of security assessment, we then were able to make our own input.
Minister, finally, in terms of state of assessment of the security, we also have troops there. Finally, what's your assessment? Are we still going to have troops there going forward to ensure that there's peace during elections? What is South Africa's position and what will be our role? And what is your message generally to South Africans and our troops?
South Africa will continue to be in the Democratic Republic of Congo for as long as the heads of state of the SADC region have not taken a decision to withdraw the Force Intervention Brigade. So we are there as part of the Framework Brigade, but also there as part of the Force Intervention Brigade, together with Malawi and Tanzania. Yes, there are challenges there and there. Yes, we are in a country which has its own challenges because they are preparing for an election right now, but it is always good and very important for us to continuously assess the threat which is there in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Part of the biggest challenge which was discussed here was the very negative forces which we had been deployed there to neutralize. And the one negative force which is creating a big problem for everybody now is the ADF, which has whose character is taking a form and shape of a terrorist organization. So it's not just your normal negative force, but it's way beyond that, and therefore needs a particular special strategy needs to be developed on how we're going to handle that, because it poses a threat to the entire continent.
Security, yes, but also political intervention is needed.
That's exactly the issue. It can't always be a military solution to challenges which people have. What is important is that the region, the countries, the member states themselves need to develop some form of collaboration, cooperation, but also trust. Because once there is trust, at least there will be peace, and trust and confidence in one another, then there will be peace. And these are some of the things we're discussing today. So it's important that as we move going forward, and I think the President Museveni is going to do very well. The former president who was there before him, the chair, was from President Sosengwesu. Now it is President Museveni, who is very eager to get things going, who's very eager to stop this war amongst ourselves. And what I liked more than anything else was when he said, African problems, we need to find African solutions. And the other thing I liked very much when we're doing the assessment of the threat assessment of the Democratic Republic of Congo was when one of the speakers said Congo is a victim of its own wealth, God-given natural resources, and that's what we're dealing with in the Democratic Republic of Congo. But if you look at generally in the region, we discussed the Central African Republic, and you would know that obviously one would be very interested in knowing what is happening there in view of the fact that we lost our own 15 lives at a go in the Central African Republic, all in pursuit of peace. Yes, there's a semblance of stability, but every now and then there have been random attacks, which is what we're discussing and how it should be dealt with. We also discussed and commended the people of South Sudan. Fortunately, the president of South Sudan himself, President Salva Kiir, was here and was participating in this session, and the whole, all the participants commended the steps they have taken to find a lasting, a peaceful solution to the challenges they have. But the one thing which I found very significant for me is that already last week he signed a directive that all political prisoners should be released, which really demonstrates the commitment to make sure that the country is peace and stable.
And finally, Mr. the perception that South Africa is intervening in these regions because our political elite back home have economic interests.
No. Well, I don't know about economic interests. All I can say is sometimes I'm saddened by the fact that as South Africa we spend a lot of resources, both human and financial resources, to deploy into these areas. And in turn, there's very little, actually, in fact nothing we get as a country, to a point where my position as an individual is that maybe it's about time when we look at issues of peace and stability, we'll also look as we deploy, what is it that is there for us? What's in it for South Africa? Because issues of trade, issues of investment should be put on the table. If you look at the Democratic Republic of Congo, it's a country which is so rich with minerals and water. But guess what? We've been there since 2006, first elections, for the second elections as well. Is there anything which South Africa has benefited? I would like to say no, except that our soldiers are there, very committed and dedicated in the assignment which has been given to them.
The opposition says some business people in South Africa and the political elite are benefiting. That's why they can't be resolved.
Well, I would not know, but if they say politicians, business people of South Africa have a right to go anywhere in the continent or even in the world to invest their monies. So if they are anywhere in the Democratic Republic of Congo, it's okay, but it's not what informs our participation in peacekeeping in that area. This is not the first country where we've been involved in peacekeeping. We've been in mediations in Burundi, we were there in Côte d'Ivoire, we've been in peacekeeping now in the DRC itself, we've been in the Central African Republic on a bilateral basis. It is because of what South Africa has committed itself to do that the Defence Force of today will come in support of the foreign policy objectives of the Republic of South Africa. And one of those is creation of peace and stability in the continent, if only we can have prosperity and development.
For an in-depth analysis